So, Holocaust Day is today, and claims have been made by that staff from the UN Relief Agency in Gaza were directly involved in the Gaza terrorist attack on October the 7th. So, claims have been made by Israel. The UNRWA, which has about 13,000 staff currently in Gaza, almost all of them Palestinians, from teachers to doctors to medical staff to aid workers, all of these people operating to support the Palestinian people in Gaza. And the allegation that some of them were directly involved in the preparation and planning of the October the 7th terrorist atrocity comes hard on the heels of the International Court's rebuke to Israel yesterday with the ICJ judgment. And it's worth noting that the ICJ didn't give South Africa exactly what it wanted. A ceasefire is, of course, not a ceasefire when one side is holding prisoners hostage at gunpoint. And it's right for the ICJ to advise Israel to avoid further risk of acts that might be construed as genocidal. But it doesn't say that there have been acts that are proven to be genocidal. It's quite careful in its language. I think the ground offensive as something undertaken unilaterally by Netanyahu and the Israeli troops was a foolish venture, and Israel should have built up a realistic international peacekeeping force to enter the Gaza region. And it didn't do that. And it doesn't matter how many ships are waiting in the Mediterranean observing, and that is not international. That is not a concerted international effort. There are international countries like Britain and the US who are supporting Israel tactically and financially, but it's not the same as boots on the ground, and it would be much better. It would have been much better for Israel to have had international boots on the ground. The problem with the ruling is that Israel, despite the various reports, if you look at it, the problem with the ruling is that Israel can actually say that it has lawyers in the room, and it's perfectly happy to comply, and it doesn't really change anything. You think from the headlines that we saw yesterday, you think everything is going to change. There's no reason for that at all. I was looking at Turkish news. Nothing is going to change. That court judgment is fairly insignificant, I'm afraid. And the much more significant story is this story about the UNRWA. And Philip Lazzarini, who's the chief of the UNRWA, has said in response to the allegations that the charity has actually sacked several of its employees. So that appears, I think, to justify and confirm the allegations against those suspected of taking part in the Hamas attack. And the Foreign Office in Britain has now suspended funding to the UNRWA and has issued a statement which the UK is appalled by allegations that UNRWA staff were involved in the October the 7th attack against Israel, a heinous act of terrorism that the UK government has repeatedly condemned. The UK is temporarily pausing any future funding of the UNRWA. Whilst we review those concerning allegations, we remain committed to getting humanitarian aid to the people of Gaza who desperately need it. I think despite these allegations, the UNRWA has been doing everything it can to help distribute food, water, life-saving health services in an appalling situation. And the efforts of the charity still fall far below the needs of the Gazan community under siege. And I think this is not a positive development. The US, Australia, Italy, Canada have all paused their funding because of these allegations. And to date, Israel's ground offensive has led to the reported deaths of more than 26,000 Palestinians, many of whom are women and children, along with 64,000 who have been wounded.